Hey guys and girls, welcome back to another beautiful video on this beautiful channel on this beautiful day. How you guys and girls doing? Hope you're doing great. Today we're going to be working with OpenGL again. Hopefully we'll get the game class to work properly. So we're just going to work with that. But before we get started, please check out the description box. There's a bunch of useful links, everything down there. Drop a like, subscribe if you want to support me. Otherwise, just watching is enough. I really appreciate all the support. But let's just get started. What we want to do is we actually want to make this run today. So I'm just gonna go ahead, and all I'm expecting is it to run. So I really just want it to run, and I'm gonna remove all the old stuff, and I'm gonna start off by creating a game object here. Game, and I'm gonna give it all of these things. All of these parameters that I wanted. So I'm just gonna give it a simple title, YouTube. Let's see, let me put that half YouTube tutorial, and that's the title. I want to give it a window width 640, just like we had it, 484 height. Then we're gonna have version major. Make sure you check that again. Please just check out what version of OpenGL you have. Otherwise, just run 3.3. Here 3.3, and that's a little older version, but it's still okay. It doesn't matter. In modern OpenGL, everything after 3.3, I think, something like that, is modern OpenGL. So you can basically use the same functionality almost. So don't worry too much about it. Resizable, false. So there we go. Now we create a game object, and everything that happened is that everything was initialized in this order. So we did all of this while creating it, and we got all the matrices and everything like that. So that should be fine. Now obviously we're gonna want some more stuff. We're gonna have matrices, then we're gonna have shaders, textures, meshes. So for that, I'm just gonna create a std vector object of the type shaders, texture, same thing. I'm just gonna copy paste this so we do it quickly. What the hell happened? There we go. Same thing for meshes, like that. Shaders, textures, probably materials as well. Materials, and then std vector materials, and then textures. And this is a very basic way of doing it. There's nicer ways to do this, but I'll just use vectors for now, just for tutorial purposes. Meshes, like that. So now we got a bunch of stuff that we can use, and shouldn't be an issue here. Let's just look at material. Let's see, is there a way to, okay, that's cool. That's nice. Mesh, shader, let me just look at this. Okay, all right, we're fine. Let's go into main. Now the core program, all of this stuff is not going to work right now, but eventually it will. So let's see, let's make these pointers. Everything is going to be a pointer in here. All right, and that's going to be because we're going to use dynamic memory. So, and that usually works a little better. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a function in here. We're gonna create several initializer functions. Okay, so if we go into private functions, init matrices, void init shaders, like that, void init textures, void init materials, and void init meshes. Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff that doesn't really have a body yet. I'm just gonna create definitions for all of these. Control period enter. So they should just look like this. I'll show you all of these soon, so you can just copy paste the code, but we're gonna need all these for now. So there we go. Then we're gonna go ahead into game.cpp, and all of these should be created here. All right, they look just like this. So just copy this and you should be fine. All right, and before we get started, I'm gonna go into game, and I'm gonna look at everything that is dynamic here. So we have our window and everything, obviously, and then we're gonna delete all the data. So we're gonna make for loops that go through this. Let's see, shaders dot size. All right, and we're gonna say delete this shaders at position I. Now this is really tedious, but I'm gonna do all of this just to clear out everything. I'll actually make this inline kind of, so we don't have to look at all the ugly code. So that's shaders. Then we need textures, materials, and what's the last one? Meshes. So we'll just delete all the meshes, delete everything, and the destructors in each of these classes will take care of the deleting and stuff like that. For example, in mesh, we have the destructor, which removes all the vertex array, all that data and everything. So we don't have to worry about it. All we have to do is just delete it. Okay, so now we're cleaning out the memory here. But if we get back to the initializing, so let's start off with shaders. Let's go into main, and let's just copy this shader right here. And we'll say this shaders dot pushback new shader, and I'll remove this. Okay, just like that, and then we'll just expand this, so it should look like this. One more parentheses here. This GL version major, this GL version minor. And I know, again, these videos are kind of tedious and they're kind of lots of copy pasting code back and forth, but again, it's kind of important. Once we're done with these aren't really tutorials per se, they're more like preparing for the next set of tutorials. So just think of it like that, and hopefully it'll be good. Then we have to fix our meshes. Well, let's start off with textures. So we've got two textures here and a material. Let's start off with the textures. Control X that. Go into game, init textures. Same thing here, just remove the name. All right. And then this textures dot pushback new texture with all of this data right here. All right. And the same thing for this new texture with all of that data, and boom. And we got the texture IDs here as well. All right, so the thingy and the IDs. All right, because that is the ID, right? Let me just see. Texture unit, yeah, the texture unit. Okay, so that's good. We'll be able to bind those, the one we want, and yeah, it's gonna be okay. Then we're gonna initialize the material. I think, yep, material. Same thing here. Tedious, all of this is tedious. Now this material depends on the textures, so we're gonna probably need to make sure that they're initialized first. And let's see, new material, like that, and then we're just gonna say boom, this materials dot pushback. All right, new material, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now you're freaking out here like, oh shit, then you have to take care of all of these, keep track of all of that. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go up here in game, and we're gonna just make a little section here called enumerations. And here I'm gonna create names for all of these. All right, so I'm gonna say enum shaders shader shader enums, let's see, like that. And then I'm going to say core program, and I'm going to create really clear names here. Shader core program. All right, and that's going to be the index 0 for shader, and then enum texture enum, and then I'm going to set those as well. So the first one is text, let's see, texture, what is that? That's a pusheen and a container. So we're going to say text pusheen 0, and then text what was it? Container 1, and that's going to be the number, the what do you call it, the texture unit. And this isn't the best way, again, it's not really nice, but enums really help you out in keeping track of shit. So we have that, and then you make sure that these things are already defined in here, so you kind of make sure it's all initialized. And there's a better way you can set enums dynamically and stuff later. I think you can do that. There's some ways you can fix that, but still, let's just go ahead and work with this right now, and we'll fix the rest later on. Then we have material enum, and we'll say material, let's see, material 1. I guess I'll just call it material 1 for now. It doesn't really matter. Equals 0. I'll set this equals 0 as well. There you go. And then enum mesh enum, mesh quad equals 0. So we kind of keep track of stuff here. Now when I have these defined, I can go in here and I can say, when we create this material here, let me just go down here, boom. All right, so instead of texture and all that stuff, I'm just gonna say, let's see, this textures text machine 0, and then get texture unit. Let's see, since it's a pointer, we need a pointer arrow here, and then this one as well, this textures text container 1, so we kind of see what the hell's going on, right? And I'll fix this, I promise I'll fix this later on so it doesn't look this bad, and it'll be a lot more clear once we get this working. And then we're gonna have initialize meshes as well. So I'm just gonna go in here. We did initialize these matrices, so I'm just gonna remove all of this and remove this. And this mesh is a test. This meshes push back new mesh. All right, new mesh, boom. All right, and like that. So create a new mesh quad like this with all that data, and then boom. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. There we go. So we created a new mesh, and that's perfect. Now once we render, we still don't have a model class that can keep track of materials and textures and everything, so we're gonna have to work with that later. But for now, let's just keep going. So this mesh is initialized. Lights, so we need to create a lights variable here as well. Let's see, meshes lights std vector glm vec3 lights. So those are the light positions, and then we're gonna create a void init lights as well, just for now. See how many initializer functions we have, so it's kind of crazy. Let's see, there you go. Okay, so create the definition, and all we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy paste this light initialization, and boom. What the hell is going on? There we go. And then we're gonna create a little pointer here, and then we have to go into game. Here we go. Create another for loop. This lights.size. Remove all of this shit. There we go. This lights at I, and then we just delete that. Boom. Okay, so there we go. So we just delete everything, and then yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of empty stuff. And if we go back here, we should have our initializing function right here, and we're gonna say this lights equals new. No, this lights dot pushback new glm vec3, all of that crap, and boom. So there we go. There we got a new light, and we're good. Cool. So initializing the uniforms as well is going to be something we have to do. So we have to send the uniforms to a certain shader and initialize them. All right. Now we have our core shader. Now once we have initialized all the data, we need to create a void init uniforms function, which will initialize uniforms for our core shader. We'll just create a definition for that. And then we're nearing into the while loop here. So we're close. We're really close. Now this video is a little longer than usual. You can pause it. You can go take a break. But just doing all this is kind of important. So now we're going to initialize these uniforms. This shaders core shader core program set mat4. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy paste all of this and replace the set stuff. All right. There we go. We're just setting a bunch of things. So what we're doing is we're sending it the view and the projection matrix, and we're sending it the light position. This lights 0. Just gonna send it that as dereferenced as well because it's a pointer, and then we're gonna send it a camera position, which I had here somewhere. I think it's this cam position. And then camera pos. Okay. So there we go. Now we initialize our uniforms. We need to just call all of this right here. All right, in that order. So init matrices, init shaders, this init textures, this init materials, this init meshes, this init uniforms. Okay, so that should be it. Shaders, textures, materials, meshes, lights, and uniforms. Okay, so lights first, uniforms last. All right, so because we need to set the lights before we send them to the uniforms. Init lights. So there you go. We got a bunch of shit. I know this is really a pain in the butt to look at, but it will help you in the future. Just trust me on that. So it should be good. Now we created that. We got a bunch of shit here. Now we got our main loop. And instead of this, I'm just going to say this game. No, just game. Game.get window should close. All right. So if it should not close, we'll run this. And this is going to be update input. So game.update. There we go. If we look at game.update, what are we doing? So we got our game.update. It's going to update the input here. And then it's going to render everything. So we're going to update it, and then we're going to do game.render. And what are we doing in the render? Well, we have to set all the stuff. Okay. And what do we need to set? We need to set the texture uniforms. We need to send that in. We need to send the material. We need to fix the frame buffer in case of resize. And send the projection matrix again, as well as all that stuff. So I'm just going to basically copy paste all of this, and then in the next video we're going to clean this up. But for now, I'm just going to copy paste all this in. All right, and then we're going to remove this as well because game takes care of that. And remove this. See how small main became now? So it's just game, update, game render. All right. And if I go into game render, I'm just going to paste all that shit in here. And it's going to be really, really annoying. I'm going to remove this this stuff. And then I'm going to do the clear. I'm going to say this shaders dot core shader core program set 1i. Copy paste that. Replace that. This materials mat 1, send to shader, and then we need to kind of have this core program, that shader right there, the reference. So we're sending that to the shader. So it's a little longer code, but if you look at it carefully, it just makes sense. So it's a lot of annoying coding, but we need to kind of send that in. So the first texture that I'm going to send in is this textures texture text pushing 0, and then just dereference that. Wait, let's see. Set 1i get ID, or let's see, get texture unit. So I'm setting that. Yeah, I'm setting that textures unit to texture 0, and I'm setting container 1 texture unit texture 1, and boom. Get frame buffer size, that's fine, that we don't have to do anything about that. This window, this frame buffer width, and this frame buffer height, this projection matrix, we're just updating it, and we're gonna send it to the core program like that, easy peasy. And then we're gonna use that program, and then we're gonna set the shaders. I'm just copying these since it's a little easier to work with. So make sure you copy the right ones. Texture 0.bind, and then texture container 1.bind, or yeah, bind. And then we're gonna render our mesh. So this meshes mesh quad render, and then we have to send in the shader that we're using, right? And to do that, we need to just send it right like this. So boom, as a pointer, because it wants a shader pointer. So I'm just sending in the pointer. Swap buffer, all that stuff, and we're good. This is the only thing that's not going to work right now, since they're still in main, all of these commands. So we won't be able to move our machine, but hopefully we should be able to see all the errors now, fix them, and then it should work. It should work. Yep, it's working. So I can't move the cat, I can't do anything with it, but it's working. So we got it after all this turmoil, after all this annoying coding. I don't know how long this video is. 22 minutes, god damn. Yeah, so it's been a long video, so I'm really sorry about that. Whew, but at least that worked. So in the next video, we're gonna clean this up, and we're gonna get all the input into the game class, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Then we'll start working with height maps, hopefully, and stuff like that. So cool stuff. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me on all these videos. Check out the description box for all the cool links, for the playlist, for everything. Just subscribe, like if you like the content. Otherwise, if you don't like long videos like this, I understand. But thanks for watching anyway. And yeah, take care, and I'll see you guys and girls in the next one, alright? Bye-bye.